So let's talk about acceptance a little bit. At least for me, it's been one of those really difficult things to actually embody. And I feel acceptance and love are much the same thing. And if I would distill the term acceptance into one sentence, it would be the cease of resisting anything. Acceptance is unconditional acceptance. And to me, self love is not when I feel good about myself when I've lost certain amount of weight, or when I don't judge anymore, or when I'm always kind and never rude, or whatever flaws I might perceive within myself. That's not acceptance. That's not love. That's something conditional. What I'm talking about here is acceptance, which is the ceasing of any resistance, acceptance as an embrace of everything. And it is a it is a challenging thing because there's so much within the human psyche and even almost the body and the subconscious that sort of wants to resist and wants things to be a certain way before it can allow and relax into this state of deep okayness just as we are. Acceptance to me is often a process. Um, it doesn't mean that we're always feeling blissful or zen or that we don't feel the whole range of human emotions. Sometimes, say, I get sick and I become frustrated, and then I become angry, and then I become sad, and all that. And acceptance is not when I don't experience those feelings and emotions or thoughts related to the emotions anymore, but it's when I can sort of accept myself through all those emotions and feelings, when I can accept that it's right now is a bit difficult for me to accept. Have you ever tried that? I mean, if something happens, shit hits the fan, and you go, "Oh, this is so killing me," and then you go like, yeah, it's really difficult to accept that this just happened." But could you accept that it's really difficult at the moment to accept? Because that's part of the process of acceptance, that you start with, actually it's very difficult for me to accept how things are right now, and then there's the sudden sort of softening when you do, and then you can ask yourself, what would compassion, self-compassion, look like in this experience? And that's another component of acceptance. So often acceptance is a process that might include a whole array of emotions, and accepting our emotions and accepting stuckness or frustration, or that we don't have the answers yet, or that we're feeling a bit low or bad about ourselves or whatever. But I feel a huge component of acceptance, at least for myself, has been to realize that life is always wanting to support me in becoming in sync with myself. Life is always supporting my becoming self compassionate with myself. Life isn't trying to punish us because life is us. We are life. So it's not trying to punish us or restrict us or oppose us, or um, it's rather, if something challenging happens, I always think of it as, these days, I always think of it as, um, it's life is serving me in becoming more in sync, more into acceptance, deeper love with myself. And like I said, often that is a process. And I don't mean any like white knuckled positive thinking that I should always be able to find the silver lining when shit hits the fan. The wisdom and understanding of our challenges often transpire when and as we really allow and embrace all our feelings and emotions and support ourselves compassionately through those. So, acceptance doesn't necessarily always happen in one, like, snap at the fingers, at the snap of fingers. Um, but ultimately, it becomes more available to us when we see that life isn't trying to punish us or prove that we have so much to learn or that we're doing something wrong or there's something wrong with us. Rather, I see challenges and difficult emotions as opportunities to deepen my self love with myself and sort of have the humility to experience life, this human life, in all its colors without judging it or without judging myself. And part of that process of acceptance is kind of allowing that I'm not necessarily going to understand everything, or nor do I need to, or nor do I need to figure everything out why something happens, or but what I found out, things always sort of make heartful sense when I've just allowed myself to self compassionately support myself through whatever challenges I've been experiencing. So there's always this kernel of wisdom that I get to receive um, when I cease resisting and when I just receive things. And a huge part of acceptance to me is also not just self compassion, but also responsibility for my own life and my energies. So when I take responsibility, I don't see things as punishments or um, life trying to prove that I'm doing something wrong or I'm not worthy, but as opportunities to grow and expand in awareness. And sometimes that is challenging. Human life can be challenging at times, and that's okay. That is okay. That's acceptance too. So, by way of acceptance, I my life has become so much more fluid and flowy because when I'm experiencing challenging emotions or feelings or thoughts or whatever, I don't really identify with them anymore, thinking that there's something wrong with me. I just see it as part of life, and that's okay. And I don't need to control life and tell it how it should be, but I can receive it and I can allow it to serve me. So, this is what acceptance is to me, how I see it. And acceptance is also a huge part in emotional regulation and nervous system regulation. Um, they're actually all tied into it together. And when we learn emotional regulation and emotional skills, we actually learn to receive and accept our feelings without judgment. And we don't necessarily think anymore that there's something unholy or unspiritual or something wrong with our very human emotions, but we sort of get to experience the life force energy that all emotions and feelings contain and use it as a neutral energy for our lives and our well being. So acceptance has so much to do with how we receive our own life force energies, and how life becomes more flowy, and how we become in sync with our own selves.